I finished Harley Quinn, the TV show, a bit of a ways back, and I liked a lot of it. It was a fun Elseworlds adaptation, but there was a minor character arc that stood out to me. Baines.
It's me, Banyo.
Look, this is a character whose first appearance was breaking the Bat's back, and that was enough to carry him for like 2 decades. Here he's still a villain, but we get a look at how he could be as a more well-rounded person. That's the best way I could put it. He's a bit simple, definitely still a villain, but he loved explosions and still did until one day. It wasn't quite enough.
I feel nothing. I couldn't help but wonder, did I need a therapist after all?
Which is where I'm like, it's not Ibsen, and I have doubts it'll be portrayed in a healthy or accurate manner, but I laughed because it felt real.
We joke, we laugh, we suppress our trauma.
Which leads me to meeting my psychiatrist, a new psychiatrist, and how I'm depressed like everybody else. Lamau is not a good intro. They were like, no, you need help. That instance is related to, but not the immediate cause of my increase in Brintellix, my antidepressant. I have been diagnosed with major depressive disorder, have ended first sessions with new psychiatrists with the sentence, no wait, there's more, that was just this week, and I am very aware of what each dosage does to me, which I think would be fun to talk about vis-a-vis various games. I'm going to talk about 3 dosages, a 10mg dosage of Brintellix, half of that, and the spiciest one, no antidepressants whatsoever, and compare them to video games. Naturally, we're going to start with the last one, no Brintellix, which I can describe semi-accurately because I took notes for reasons that will soon become obvious. Me on no Brintellix can be charitably described as my base form, which is a lot like saying a rotisserie chicken's base form is raw chicken. I'm sure somewhere it's a delicacy, but in most instances, it's probably just gonna poison you. When I'm not on any antidepressants, I am here, I am present in a most painful way. I am in my body and I must make every decision every time at every given moment. Everything is bright. It felt like it was always about an emotion that I had to handle right now. It wasn't just a dirty floor, it was a dirty floor that made me angry. Rent not paid yet? Make me anxious. Work day and night forever. Soup and I had no spoon?
Fork. We can't eat soup.
I mean, looking back, it sounds silly, but like, that was my life. It felt like every day I was just managing one emotion after another that also stayed throughout the day. I wasn't just angry in the morning, I'd be angry into the evening because I felt it today and I couldn't let go. Not having any medication feels a lot like being in a first-person shooter, and that's how I experienced my life. Kind of like Doom, which I feel had some issues, because I start thinking things like, I am gonna move forward, and I am gonna hurt everything on the way to the horizon. Everything feels like a bigger problem than it seems, so it's big guns all the time, baby. Which I think is fair to call a little brutal. Here, I felt like a Jem'Hadar, but not in a reinterpreted and possibly inspiring way. I felt like I was already dead. I was lost, and victory is life. And victory is doing whatever needed doing at that specific moment. Unfortunately, I kept notes. The notes were important because some days I would wake up feeling entirely different about certain things than I did the night before. Such as friends, who I love dearly, unless I wake up on the wrong side of the bed without Brintellix, and then, apparently, I hate them and want them to die. Which is a concerning turnabout because I was aware of how I felt last night vis-a-vis how I felt today. Which, of course, provoked me to take notes. I used them to figure out which feelings were more likely to be true, because they were more consistent when my head was, or at least felt like it was completely okay, because whether I quote-unquote hated everybody or not, felt real in that specific moment. It was like being in a timeshare on my body and emotions, which I felt wasn't ideal, so
Not samurai.
I had to keep track and make sure everything was sorted. I also wanted to visit Narnia through a nylon hoop, but that came from a place of sheer tiredness more than anything else, which provoked me to actually go ahead and get some help. Now, on 5mg of Brintellix, I become a mech made of meat. My mind is the pilot. There is distance, but I am there. I can hear a dozen ideas in my head at any given time. There is still anxiety and a need to get everything done as soon as possible, but it is managed. Here, I am tense, anxious, and I am, as my wife has said, more obviously on the spectrum. Because when the depression is handled a little, other parts of my personality and life are given room to shine. The real effect of the distance is that I have what appear to be impulse control problems. I mentally restrain myself, but more often than not, I react to things before I even know what I am doing, as if I had already chosen and I skipped the part where I figured out what I was going to choose, like a King Crimson thing, if King Crimson made any sense. On half a dose, my doctor asked me if sometimes I hoped if God would just take me. I told the doctor, oh yeah, I want a KMS all the time. And they were like, that was not what I asked. You are getting a 10 milligram dose. So in terms of video games, kind of like Arc Raiders, anything third person really, I think I am in control, and I am. I have a game plan, sometimes good, but then something happens and it feels like a cinematic. Maybe someone shoots me out of nowhere, or I see someone and they look a little vulnerable, and something inside me just decides for me. I didn't want it, I think, but man, I am here now, picking through a stack of trash as if it was worth my time. On a more positive note, my emotions regarding things was more consistent. I didn't wake up feeling entirely different and could trust my emotions more, which meant I could make more decisions. So I felt a little disconnected from my own body, and it felt like it was making decisions without me, but I generally agreed with those decisions. But yes, the urges were still there, and so I probably needed a little more help. Now that I'm at a full dose, I can look back on that and say, I don't think that was any way to live. But before the full dose, much like having no Brintellix at all, everything felt correct. And it was silly to think otherwise.
A dangerous pastime? I know.
Obviously, it did not take much for the doctor to put me up to 10 milligrams of Brintellix. I feel distant from any and all things. I feel emotions, but it is like a light on a computer telling me that there is power, that it is on. When I feel an emotion, my brain is holding up a sign rather than beating me over the head with them.
You can't just have your characters announce how they feel.
Let me tell you, it got real difficult to do anything. Because when you're distant from your emotions and powered by anxiety, it becomes hard to find motivation.
I am the storm that is approaching.
Well, that's not entirely true. I'm motivated, I know what I want to do, but I feel no urgency for it. I don't know how I came to realize it, but when I needed to do something, I hyper-focused on the word work, which turned into the word write, because that's what I needed to do. And there I was, all of a sudden, my body moving and working and writing. No conscious thought, though I clearly had it because I liked how the piece turned out. And it is hard to describe because it's not like I go to the white room, but I'm not entirely conscious of the effort. I just think of the word and let the body do the work. It felt bizarre because it is writing, and of course, writing is far from an automatic task in my experience. It requires conscious thought and structure and intent, but on 10 milligrams of Brintellix, I didn't have conscious intent, which is true for any task. Go to the bathroom, just think bathroom. Take a bath, just bath. I just took a bath, so I'm stuck on bathing. Anyway, I would describe it as piloting your avatar or your characters in Baldur's Gate 3. You don't tell them how to do something in a specific sense, you just tell them to do it. I don't know how to cast Fireball. Gale does, though. And sometimes characters are belligerent, but I can stop them. Like, I can pick a choice and make a roll to prevent the dark urge from taking over, but I still have to make a choice, and I can still make the wrong one. And I mention this because sometimes my body does not want to do a thing. And no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to make it do it. The word simply does not appear. Despite that, this is my preferred dosage for one simple fact. I don't want to neck myself. I may be distant from my body and feel like I have to struggle just to get a thought together. Look at this video. This was supposed to come out 2 weeks ago. But you know what? Being allowed around sharp objects is pretty nice, especially when I want to cook. It's also nice that with distance comes a bit more control over what I do, ironically, and almost in opposition to what I just said. But like smaller decisions are a lot easier because they're not as big as they used to be. I'm giving up a lot of control and sharpness, I know. But I feel like, in my current state of life, it is worth it. To sum this all up, I feel like a different person at each dosage, which is neat because I ultimately get to decide what kind of person I want to be and how I want to interact with myself and my life, with the understanding that the medicine may affect me differently later on. I also understand and saddened by the idea, actually, that I'm not gonna let go of this privilege, but I do have this privilege that I got to have this medicine, and it has improved my life dramatically, that I could afford to buy this medicine. And medicine isn't for everyone. I get that. But I also get that not everyone who would benefit from medicine gets it. So that sucks. I hope this has been enlightening to you somehow. I thought about making this video like a while ago and asked my wife why I should make this video when I got this idea for it. And she said something along the lines of, people might want to know stuff like this using the terms I use. Maybe it'll give them more understanding for themselves, or it'll just be a weird thing they can watch. So here it is, and I hope it's something to you. Thanks for making it this far. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I am Patinator, and I will see you later.